Hello and welcome to Quidnank, the law podcast where we make legal concepts simple, engaging, and relevant. I'm your host, here to guide you through another essential topic of the Civil Procedure Code. Today, we'll unravel the intricacies of Order 11, titled Discovery and Inspection. It is a subject that bridges the gap between transparency in legal proceedings and the pursuit of justice. Order 11 may seem technical at first glance, but at its heart, it represents a powerful tool to ensure that the truth prevails in a lawsuit. Whether you are a budding lawyer, a curious law student, or someone brushing up on procedural nuisance, this episode will leave you with clear understanding of how discovery and inspection functions as pillar of a fair trial. So, what exactly does this order cover? Discovery is the process by which parties to a lawsuit can obtain necessary information from each other, while inspection ensures access to documents that could be crucial to the case. These mechanisms eliminate surprises, uphold the principle of equality, and streamline the judicial process. They are governed by specific rules designed to balance transparency with protection against misuse. In the next 50 minutes, we will navigate through the following aspects: the meaning and scope of discovery under Rule 1 and 11, the concept of interrogatories and their strategic importance, the rules for the discovery of documents, including privileged and non privileged ones, the process of inspecting documents and the safeguards in place to prevent overreach. Lastly, the repercussions of non-compliance and how courts tackle such situations. Before we dive deeper, here's an intriguing thought. Did you know that these provisions reflect the judicial philosophy of no trial by ambush? They ensure both parties have a level play field by mandating the sharing of relevant information. But don't worry, I'm here to demystify it all. By the end of the episode, Order 11 will no longer be just another chapter in your CPC textbook. It will be a practical, memorable, and relatable concept. Now let's dive into the first key aspect of Order 11, discovery by interrogatories and documents, as outlined in Rules 1 to 11. Let's begin with the meaning and scope of discovery. In legal terms, discovery refers to the formal process through which parties to a lawsuit exchange information that is essential for resolving the dispute. It's about ensuring transparency and reducing surprises. Rule 1 to 11 of Order 11 guides us on how this process unfolds, striking a balance between uncovering the truth and respecting the boundaries of legal privilege. Now, why is discovery so important? Imagine two parties walking into a trial, each holding back vital information. The court would be like a referee in a match where neither side plays fair. Discovery ensures that all cards are on the same table, fostering a just and equitable resolution of disputes. Let's break down it step by step. Rule 1, discovery by interrogatories. Interrogatories are a set of written questions served by one party to other seeking information relevant to the case. These questions must be connected to the matter in issue. For instance, in a contractual dispute, interrogatories could clarify terms of performance or breach. However, frivolous and oppressive interrogatories aren't allowed. The court has the discretion to disallow them. Rule 2, particular interrogatories. The question must be precise and relevant. Broad or vague queries that aim to harass or fish for information are not permitted. The court ensures the scope is limited to what is necessary for the case. Rule 3, cost of interrogatories. The cost associated with the framing and answering interrogatories are borne by the party, administering them unless the court directs otherwise. This ensures accountability and discourages misuse. Rules 4 to 6, they talk about firm objection and striking out. The rules specify the format of interrogatories and allow the opposing party to object to irrelevant or excessive questions. The court can strike out such interrogatories to maintain fairness. Rules 7 to 9, filing and answering. Responses to interrogatories are given in the form of an affidavit, which is a sworn statement of truth. This ensures authenticity and accountability in the discovery process. If a party fails to respond, the court may pass an order compelling compliance. Rules 10 and 11. The court may direct a party to answer specific interrogatories if it deems them necessary. These provisions also extend to cases involving minor, ensuring inclusivity and procedural fairness. The scope of discovery. The scope of discovery under Order 11 is both expansive and well guarded. It allows parties to uncover material facts and documents necessary for the adjudication of the case. However, it doesn't permit a fishing expedition into a private affairs of the opposing party. Courts carefully scrutinize discovery, request to prevent abuse, and ensure they align with the principle of justice and efficiency. Think of it as opening a treasure chest of facts, but only those that are relevant to the case, not every item hidden in the opponent's vault. To sum up, discovery under Rules 1 to 11 serves as the backbone of fair trials, promoting transparency and minimizing surprises. It is the tool for truth, but only when wielded responsibly. In the next segment, we'll discuss interrogatories and the strategic use in litigation. What are interrogatories? Interrogatories are essentially a written set of questions that one party serves to another seeking information relevant to the dispute. Think of it as a legal question and answer session, but on paper and with precision. This is governed by Rule 1 of Order 11. The beauty of the interrogatories lies in their focus. They aren't meant to uncover every trivial detail, but instead target specific facts that can make or break a case. For example, in a partnership dispute, an interrogatory might ask, what were the financial contributions of each partner during the relevant period? Now we will understand about the strategic importance of these. Now, why are interrogatories a game changer? Here are 3 key reasons. First, fact-finding tool. They help you pin down crucial details that may not be immediately apparent. By compelling the other side to answer under oath, you can fill gaps in your understanding of the case. Case strengthening. Interrogatories can expose contradictions in the opponent's narrative. For example, if they claim one thing in their written statement but reveal something else in their answers, that inconsistency can be a powerful weapon in court. Cost-effective strategy. Compared to lengthy oral examinations or dispositions, interrogatories are a quicker and less expensive way to gather information. Now we'll understand rules governing interrogatories. Interrogatories are not a free pass to ask anything under the sun. The Code of Civil Procedure places some key limitations, like first, relevance. Under Rule 2, questions must be directly relevant to the issue in the suit. No fishing expeditions are allowed. For instance, in a property dispute, asking about unrelated personal assets of the other party would likely be disallowed. Second objection. Rule 6 allows the opposing party to object irrelevant or oppressive interrogatories. These objections must be reasonable and are ultimately reviewed by the court. Third, form and filling. Rule 4 and 7 require that interrogatories be concise, specific, and filed properly. A vague or overly broad interrogatory, such as explain all financial dealing you have had in the past 10 years, would likely to be struck down. Here's why strategy comes into play. Craft effective questions. The best interrogatories are laser focused. For example, instead of asking a general question like, "What documents do you have regarding the contract?" you could ask, "Do you have a copy of the signed contract dated?" Next is timing. Timing is everything. Well timed interrogatories can corner the opposing party and compel them to reveal crucial information before the trial begins. Another is avoiding overreach. While it's tempting to dig deep, overreaching can backfire, leading to objection or even cost being imposed on you. Always keep your questions precise and relevant. Now we will understand the legal safeguards. One final point to remember is that interrogatories are answered under oath. This means that the responding party must provide truthful answers or face legal consequence, including potential charges for perjury. This safeguard ensures that the discovery process upholds the integrity of the legal system. So, interrogatories are more than just questions, they are strategic tools that can shape the outcome of a case. In our next segment, we will discuss the discovery of documents under Rule 12 to 14, including what qualifies as a privileged document. So, what is discovery of documents? Discovery of documents is the process by which one party can compel the other to disclose and produce documents that are relevant to the case. The purpose? To prevent surprises, streamline the trial, and bring transparency to the courtroom. Let us say you are handling a breach of contract case. Discovery of documents might involve requesting copies of the contract, payment receipts, or correspondence between the parties. This process ensures that both sides have access to the same evidence before stepping into the courtroom. Rules governing discovery of documents. Let's break down the key rules that govern this process. Rule 12, Application for discovery. This rule allows a party to apply to the court for an order directing the other party to disclose documents that are or have been in their possession, custody, or power. However, the document must be relevant to the issues in the suit. Example, in a property suit, you can apply for the production of property ownership records or sale deeds. Rule 13, Affidavits of documents. Once the court allows application, the responding party must file an affidavit listing all relevant documents in the possession. This affidavit is divided into three categories. First, the document the party relies on. Second, document that could adversely affect the case or help the opponent. Third, document they claim are privileged and should be disclosed. Rule 14, Production of documents. After disclosure, the requesting party can inspect the documents. This rule ensures that both sides have an equal opportunity to examine the evidence. Importantly, the court can compel the production of specific documents if it deems them necessary for the case. Privileged document. Now, not all documents are open for inspection. Certain categories of documents are considered privileged and are protected from disclosure. These include legal privilege, that is, communication between a lawyer and their client. Next is official record, documents related to state secrets or public policy. And confidential trade information, such as formulas or business strategies that are irrelevant to dispute. The court carefully scrutinizes claims of privilege to ensure that they aren't being misused to withhold relevant information. Now, what are the challenges and non-compliance? Like, what happens if a party refuses to disclose or produce incomplete information? Non-compliance can lead to serious consequences, including first, adverse inference. The court may assume that the withheld document would have gone against the non-compliant party. Second, dismissal or penalty. The court can dismiss a suit, impose fine, or even bar evidence if a party fails to comply with its order. In a notable case, the Supreme Court emphasized the importance of full and honest disclosure, stating that justice cannot thrive in the shadow of hidden facts. What are the scope and limitations? Why discovery of document is a powerful tool, it is not unlimited. The court acts as a gatekeeper, ensuring that the process isn't misused to harass or burden the opposite party. The principle of proportionality applies. Request must be reasonable and aligned with the importance of the case. To sum up, the discovery of documents ensure that no relevant evidence stays hidden, fostering fairness and transparency in litigation. But with great power comes great responsibility. It must be used wisely and ethically. Up next, we'll explore inspection of documents under Rules 15 to 19. So stay tuned for more insights. We have already navigated through the process of discovery, and it's now time to discuss the equally important step of inspection of documents, which is governed by Rule 15 to 19 of Order 11. What is inspection of document? Inspection of documents is a process that ensures a party can physically examine the documents disclosed by the other side. This step is crucial. It allows parties to verify the authenticity, relevance, and conditions of a documents before trial. Imagine being in a chess match but not knowing what pieces your opponent has. Inspection gives you clarity about the evidence and helps you plan your next move in the litigation. Let's break down the steps and safeguard involved in this process. Rule 15, Notice to produce. This rule allows a party to serve a notice to the other side, asking them to produce specific documents for inspection. For example, in a tenancy dispute, you might ask the landlord to produce the lease agreement. Rule 16, Time for inspection. Once the notice is served, the responding party must provide access to the requested documents within a reasonable time. This timeline is usually agreed upon by the parties or set by the court. Rule 17, Court's order for inspection. If a party refuses to comply with the notice, the requesting party can apply to the court for an order. The court then decides whether the document is relevant and whether inspection should be allowed. Rule 18, Verified copies. Instead of producing the original document, a party may submit a verified copy if the court permits. This provision ensures flexibility, especially for sensitive or fragile documents. Rule 19, Compliance. Non-compliance with an order for inspection can lead to serious consequences, including fines, adverse inference, or even dismissal for claims or defenses. The courts view non-compliance as a hindrance to justice. Practical considerations. Now, here are some practical considerations while dealing with the inspection. First, maintain professionalism. Always cooperate during the inspection process. Disputes over documents can delay proceedings and create a negative impression before the court. Be thorough. Examine the documents carefully to identify discrepancies or inconsistency that could work in your favor. Now, what are the challenges in inspection? Inspection, like any legal process, isn't without challenges. Some common issues include allegations of tampering, privilege or sensitive documents, delay tactics. So, we will understand one by one. First is allegation of tampering. If one party claims that documents have been altered, it could lead to additional forensic scrutiny. Privilege or sensitive document. Parties often argue about whether certain documents qualify for privilege or need dedication before inspection. Delay tactics. Refusing or delaying inspection can be a strategy to frustrate the other side, but courts usually intervene to prevent such behavior. Now, why is inspection critical? Inspection ensures that no party can manipulate evidence or surprise the other side at trial. It upholds the principle of fairness by allowing both parties to verify the document that will be used as evidence. Ultimately, it's about maintaining trust in the judicial process. To summarize, inspection of document is a vital part of pre-trial preparation. It ensures authenticity, builds trust in the evidence, and prevents surprises. In the next segment, we will discuss the consequence of non-compliance with discovery and inspection orders, including how courts handle such situations. Now, what happens when a party doesn't comply with discovery or inspection orders? This is governed by Rule 21 of Order 11, along with principles set by judicial precedents. What is non compliance? Non compliance occurs when a party either refuses to disclose documents, fails to answer interrogatories, or denies inspection without valid reasons. Such behavior is viewed seriously by the courts, as it undermines the principle of transparency and fairness. Think of non compliance as blocking your opponent's view of the game. It's not just unsportsmanlike, it's against the rules. Consequences of non compliance. The CPC provides various remedies and penalties to ensure compliance. Here's a breakdown of the consequences. First, adverse inference. The court may assume that the withheld evidence would have been unfavorable to the non compliant parties. For instance, if a defendant refuses to produce financial records, the court might infer that these records would prove the plaintiff's claim. Second, dismissal of suit or defense. Rule 21 empowers the court to dismiss the suit or strike out the defenses of a party who fails to comply with discovery or inspection orders. This is often referred to as ultimate penalty for non-cooperation. Third, fines and cost. The court may impose monetary fine or direct the non-compliant party to bear the cost of the proceedings, including the other side's legal expense. Fourth, bar on evidence. If a party fails to produce documents or answer interrogatories, they may be barred from introducing those documents or relying on related evidence during the trial. Contempt of court. In extreme cases, non-compliance could lead to contempt proceedings where the court imposes penalties to withhold its authority. The judiciary has consistently emphasized the importance of adhering to discovery and inspection orders. In one landmark judgment, the Supreme Court observed non-compliance not only delays justice but also jeopardizes the integrity of the judicial process. Compliance with procedural rules is essential for achieving substantive justice. This underscores the court's strict approach to ensuring fairness and equality in litigation. How courts address non-compliance. Here's how court typically handles such situations. First, opportunities to comply. Courts often provide additional opportunities for compliance, particularly when non-compliance arises from oversight rather than willful defiance. Second, gradual escalation of penalties. Instead of imposing harsh penalties immediately, courts may start with fines or costs, escalating to more severe consequences if the non-compliance persists. Third, inherent powers. Under Section 151 of CPC, courts can use their inherent powers to issue necessary orders to prevent abuse of the process or ensure justice. Practical tips for avoiding non-compliance. If you're involved in litigation, here are some practical tips to stay on the right side of the code. Maintain records. Keep an organized record of all relevant documents to ensure timely compliance. Seek extension if needed. If you genuinely need more time, inform the court and seek an extension instead of ignoring deadlines. Engage your legal team. Work closely with your lawyers to understand and fulfill your obligations under discovery and inspection orders. Non-compliance is more than a procedural misstep. It is a potential barrier to justice. By ensuring timely and complete cooperation, You not only strengthen your case but also uphold the values of fairness, transparency in litigation. In the next segment, we'll wrap up our discussion of Order 11 by summarizing its key takeaways and how it shapes the discovery process. Let's tie it all together with a quick summary of the key takeaways. Order 11 is not just a procedural chapter in CPC, it's a cornerstone for ensuring fairness and transparency in civil litigations. Here are the top 5 takeaways. First, discovery of interrogatories. This allows party to seek specific relevant information through written questions. It's a strategic tool that can help uncover crucial facts provided the questions are concise and relevant. Second, discovery of documents. This ensures that both parties disclose all documents essential to the case. The Affidavit of Documents under 13 categorizes these into those relied upon, those address parties to the case, and privileged documents. Third, inspection of documents. This process enables parties to verify disclosed documents. Rules 15 to 19 ensure timely access while balancing the rights of the parties through provisions like verified copies and court orders for inspection. Fourth, consequence of non-compliance. From adverse inference to dismissal of suits or defenses, the consequences are severe. Non-compliance is viewed as an obstruction to justice and is dealt with strictly by the courts. Fifth, judicial philosophy. Underpinning all these rules is a commitment to transparency and equality. The discovery process is not meant to harass but to illuminate the path to justice by bringing all relevant facts into the open. While the rule provides a clear framework, successful implementation depends on strategy and cooperation. Use discovery tools wisely to gather information without overstepping boundaries. Maintain professionalism during inspection to foster trust and avoid unnecessary disputes. Always comply with court's order to keep the process efficient and fair. And remember, the spirit of 11 is about collaboration, not confrontation. It is a shared responsibility to ensure that justice is served. Order 11 serves as a reminder that justice is not just about the final verdict, but also about the process leading up to. Transparency, accountability, and fairness are the guiding principles that make our legal system robust and reliable. Thank you for joining me on this journey through discovery and inspection. I hope this episode has not only clarified the procedural aspects but also inspired you to view litigation as a collaborative quest for truth. In our next episode, we'll explore a new topic in the CPC that's just as fascinating and essential. Until then, stay curious, stay informed.